Welcome back to the Hurry Up Offense. Fantasy football news and advice for Week 12 of the NFL fantasy football season in 10 minutes or so. I am Smokey Rameriz, your fantasy football pro. Let's go. Today's topic is getting ready for the playoffs. It is about that time. The playoffs are coming up, and you need to know the best strategy to carry yourself into and through and win a championship. But first, let's get into the news. If you haven't heard yet, the Titans have cut Adrian Peterson. Poor guy. I thought he was going to make one last run at it, but it seems to be over about as quick as it started here. This actually leaves room for Donta Foreman, however you want to say that, Dontrell Hilliard, and Jeremy McNichols. That is still going to be a split timeshare in that backfield, but I do assume that Donta Foreman is going to be the lead back by any means necessary. So if you got him, you're probably in good shape. I doubt he's still on your waiver wire, but you can look. But if you do have him, he's probably in better shape than he was last week. Zach Wilson is back at practice for the Jets, and he will be starting Week 12, thus ending the Mike White experience and the Joe Flacco fill-in. Now, I don't expect Zach Wilson to just come back and start balling out and be 10 times better than he was before, but I am hoping that he can take a step forward, which means you should get more points out of him for your fantasy football team. Now, he is a rookie. Don't get too excited. He's not going to come back. Well, I guess there is a possibility that he could come back and just ball out, but most likely he's not going to. But if you're in a deep league, you're lacking at quarterback, then by all means, pick up Zach Wilson if he's on your waiver wire, which he should be. This right here is an interesting situation. Now, Marcus Johnson, wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, is dealing with a hamstring injury, and he will be out for the rest of the season. He was Julio's replacement because Julio's been out. A.J. Brown is now dealing with a new injury, a chest injury of his own separate from his previous injuries. This leaves the door open for Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who has actually been productive earlier in this season, to get more work. Now it's kind of scary because he's going to be out there. If A.J. Brown is not out there, he's going to be out there getting all the double coverage, and I don't expect him to be too productive. But, however, if A.J. Brown is on the field with Westbrook, then I think this guy could be very productive for your fantasy football team, especially in deep leagues where you need number 2 wide receivers and even number 3 wide receivers. He could be a valuable pickup, so keep an eye on that situation. Kareem Hunt is designated to return from IR now for the Cleveland Browns, and this marks effectively most likely the end of the Ernest Johnson experiment for this season if both of these guys can stay healthy. However, we know that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt can both put up massive points at the exact same time, but it's not going to happen with 3 guys. You can pretty much drop Ernest Johnson without fear of someone snatching him up, unless one of these 2 guys gets hurt again. But for right now, put your Kareem Hunts back in the lineup. It's crazy to think that the Cowboys wide receiver Ceedee Lamb has a possibility of clearing the concussion protocol in only 4 days, which is highly unlikely, but he seems to have a shot at doing this. Now, we were expecting them to be without their 2 main wide receivers, and that was going to leave way for Michael Gallup to show out, if at all possible, in this game on Thursday. But if Ceedee Lamb comes back, he's going to be the number 1. He's going to put up a massive number. I believe that this guy is your guy to play everywhere. Even though he's coming off this concussion, if he can clear the concussion protocol, I think he has a massive week. Put him in there. Mike Evans is out of practice with back tightness. Now, I don't think right here on the surface that we're going to have to worry about Mike Evans being out this week, because usually back tightness is something that gets worked through the week, but it could be more severe than that. So you guys are going to have to definitely monitor his workouts through the rest of the week and see if he could be held out of this game for any reason. If so, Chris Godwin is a great play, unless Antonio Brown makes it back on the field, which right now it looks like he probably won't. So you're going to have to load up on Chris Godwin and Gronkowski in that situation. Right now, Jared Goff is leaning toward playing this week and ending that horrible thing that we saw on the field that was Tim Boyle playing quarterback for the Lions. Yeesh, that was awful, guys. But it's not that you want to play Jared Goff. It's not that you're going to play Jared Goff for your team. But if you have TJ Hockenson or DeAndre Swift, you need Jared Goff on the field. That guy gives your players a better chance at winning and a better chance at scoring and a better chance at getting you the win. It's not that we want Jared Goff. It's that we need Jared Goff. It's looking like Allen Robinson is going to be out yet again for another week, which means if this Bears team can get any semblance of a decent passing game going, Darnell Mooney should be okay for your fantasy team. Now, we saw that he did put up over 20 points depending on your scoring in your league last week, but it was on a lot of targets and very few receptions, which is not good. But Andy Dalton was his quarterback, so I guess we could give him a pass for that. I want to see Justin Fields out there, and I want to see Justin Fields making plays, and I want to see Darnell Mooney as productive. Keep an eye on what happens here. A couple of quad injuries for the New York Giants wide receivers duo of Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney. Now, both of them have quad injuries, obviously. You're going to have to keep an eye on this. If both of these guys are out there, I'm really looking forward to playing Kadarius Toney. And I think Sterling Shepard could also be usable in fantasy. However, if either one of them are out, it actually takes away from the other. Believe me, trust me, it takes away from the other. I want to see both of these guys out there, and I want to play Kadarius Toney while that is happening. It looks like Matt LaFleur right now is expecting Aaron Jones to be back in practice and playing this weekend. Bye-bye, A.J. Dillon. If Aaron Jones is back, that's who you play. You don't question it. If he's on the field and playing, you play him. And another guy out of the exact same camp is Aaron Rodgers, who has a fractured toe. Now, he is hurting, and he showed everyone his fractured toe. But the problem is, Aaron Rodgers can have a fractured toe and still go out and give you 4 touchdowns with 385 yards. Something to that effect. It's Aaron freaking Rodgers. What are you going to do? This happens. You got to play him. I don't care if he had 2 fractured toes. You're still playing Aaron Rodgers. Don't give up on him because of a toe. This is Aaron Rodgers. Hey, the Dolphins have claimed Philip Lindsay off of the waivers. Imagine that. Yet another unsigned free agent running back for the Dolphins. I don't expect any of these guys to be productive at this point. The only thing I want to play off the Dolphins right now is Tua, Mike Gesicki, and Jalen Waddle. That's the trio right there that's going to get you a lot of points heading into your playoffs. We'll talk about the playoffs later. Don't worry about Philip Lindsay. Alvin Kamara is out, and Mark Ingram is questionable this week out of the Saints camp. If Mark Ingram somehow has to sit, look for Tony Jones to step up. This guy might be productive for you. Don't expect Alvin Kamara numbers, but he can get you something. And last but not least, once again, just like last week, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is feeling better. He suffered with the sickness last week and couldn't play the game. And right now, coach is saying he's feeling better. He's out there at practice. I'm hoping he plays. I think if he does play, it's going to be a Monday night thing. But if he's out there, you have to play Lamar. Lamar is the man. I hope he feels better, but he's the man. That's it for the news this week. With what little bit of time we have left, let's talk about the playoffs. Now, the playoffs is coming up within 1 to 5 weeks, depending on your setup for your league. We talked last week about how the best strategy for running back is to lock up the handcuff for your superstar running backs. We saw it last week. I told you to grab Tony Pollard. Now, Zeke looks like he's probably going to play, but if he doesn't, you're going to need Tony Pollard. That guy's going to give you massive amounts. Let's say you have a superstar already that you picked up somewhere along the way that is broken out, and you have Tony Pollard you can plug in for Zeke. You still have 2 superstar running backs on your team that you can play and dominate in the playoffs. Now, for wide receiver, it's not that hard. You make sure you get those breakouts that you have and your superstars. Now, no one produces more as far as wide receivers in the playoffs and in the last few games of the season for their team and for your team than superstars. DeAndre Hopkins, Julio in the past, not so much now, but I'm going to go with A.J. Brown at this point. Justin Jefferson, look at this guy. Keenan Allen, you want to break out in there? Put Jamar Chase in. You can depend on these guys. These guys are going to win you championships. Now, you want to know about tight ends? Tight ends are simple. You need those top echelon guys at tight end. Tight ends don't tend to just come out of the blue the last few weeks of the season and start producing. They're either broken out, or they're a superstar, or they are not. It usually doesn't happen. Now, you don't want to stream a tight end going into your playoffs. That is not the strategy that's going to pay off for you. You need one of those guys. I'm telling you, streaming tight ends into your playoff is not a good idea. It works out much less times than it does. But if you have a good one, you have a good one. And play that good one over a streaming tight end, regardless of what he did last week, because these guys are going to produce more than not. Don't take the chance. Play the superstars. Hey, that's it for this week. Please subscribe to the Beyond Football channel. And if you want to listen to Alex and I break down each game each week, then tune into the scoreboard. It comes out every Thursday just before this one. So if you're listening to this right now, no matter what time it is, it's already out. Go look on the channel. It's there. Have a happy Thanksgiving and happy football. I am Smokey Rameriz, your fantasy football pro. I'll see you next week. Deuces.